And whatever cross-legged position. And just closing your eyes, let's begin the practice very much focused on the breath, like per usual, but really kind of driving that repetitive space that happens, without even conscious thought within our breathing. So first is kind of recognizing the space, acknowledgement, awareness, non-judgment in how we're entering our practice. And then the practice here being about the work of the mind staying with the path of the breathing. And yes, there's times of distraction, but use this like as a practice in keeping the mind coming back to the rhythmic nature of the breath. And just noticing, the information that comes along, or the sensations, or the perceptions that belong to the inhale, the natural pauses, and the exhale. And just let that repetitive cycle fill your practice. And almost in kind of nudging the mind to understand that there's something beyond constant thought and distraction. And as the mind begins to accept, that idea, kind of noting that that can be the practice it partakes in. Notice if the joining of the mind and the breath body, if there's any little subtle shifts within the physical body to kind of keep like this vessel or this shell awakened into that experience. And then from this kind of more natural cycling of breath, begin to work into the Ujjayi pranayama. So more guttural in nature. It beholds kind of more in the back of the throat, in sensation and in an auditory internal experience. And in kind of drawing into the Ujjayi pranayama, work with the eyes becoming open but that internal kind of ear or dristi is still somewhat present. Maybe slightly behind the nature of sight, but it still belongs to the practice. And really that the mind and the body draw into the Ujjayi practice and kind of work at holding into it. And so that kind of cycle of breath becomes more conditioned or natural. Two more rounds here. And then use that following inhale to draw up with the spine. And then within the exhale, you're going to take your right elbow over and cross it over to your left knee, and then straighten the arm. But kind of drive the elbow towards the knee and then straighten that arm. Take your left arm behind you and twist more so into the torso. Drop the right back of the right pelvis down, but feel like more through the waistline that you're twisting. 3 Ujjayi breaths here. Good, and then that 4th breath, keeping the hands on the ground, use that as a means to walk the hands out in front of you. Palms can come flat. Take the belly button back towards the spine. Let the chin come into the chest so you're rounding into a cat-like shape. Hold for 3 full breaths. Then within that 4th breath, use the inhale to take the spine back up top. And then exhale, left elbow over towards the right knee, and then straighten the arm. Walk that right arm behind you. Drop into like the back of the left pelvis, even maybe taking that left knee down, and feel this twist coming more so from the waist or the torso. 2 more breaths. And then use the 3rd breath. The inhale walks the hands forward. And then the exhale will take you into cow. So let the chest come up, like even come off the palms if you want to tent, or keep the palms flat, but really drive the chest up, feel the lower back and the arch. Hold for 2 more breaths. And then within that 3rd breath, inhale, draw back up to center. And then exhale out the mouth, like, so let that kind of be a gateway for the breath. Take another inhale, draw up through the spine. And then exhale, twisting off over to the right-hand side, but feel again that torso-like rotation, and then draw through the shoulders. Hold for 3 breaths, dropping the chin down into the chest. Within the 4th breath, utilize that space of the inhale. It's kind of information and sensations to come back to center. Spine is tall. The exhale, the information of the exhale, twists off over to the left-hand side. Again, feeling the twist through the torso. And then drop the chin down into the chest and hold for 3 breaths. Inhale takes us back up or back straight, and exhale out the mouth. So use that as an exit for the air. Good, walk the hands behind us. And this time keep the fingertips facing towards like the side wall. So the elbows, and I want you to feel like the elbows and the shoulders draw towards each other, but keep the fingertips facing away from you, not towards the back wall. Squeeze those shoulders. And then draw the navel back towards the spine and press the knees down and forward. Chin can come into chest, draw the belly button back towards the spine, yeah, and press the knees down. Hold here. Use the inhale, come back up. Exhale, hands come in front, and again, back into that cat shape. So belly button towards spine, chin to chest. And hold into this space, keeping the mind present with the Ujjayi practice. So distraction happens, movement happens. So keep the mind kind of coming back to the breath as it's practiced. Good, inhale. Spine comes up. Exhale, the air exits out the mouth. Right hand plants down. Take the left arm up and over. And as this arm comes up and over, try to drive this leg like down. The left leg kind of drives down. Instead of like sending it with it, drive it down. Hold here, walk the hand out if you need to. And keep, in this moment of kind of like a stillness with the body, there's still activity internally. So again, feeling that this arm reaches this way and this leg and the body part here pushes that way. And then the mind is practicing staying steady with the breath. And then within your next inhale, utilize that path of the inhale to take this arm out and keep that reaching down. Slow movement as the arm comes all the way off over towards the other side. Right hand kind of lifts, left hand plants down, right hand up and over. It's driving those muscles, in a lengthening or stretch-like fashion. And then that right hip is pressing, that right knee is pressing down. Hold. Good, next inhale. Use the arm and that pathway of the inhale to come out, reaching down and around. And then the exhale, just return the spine back to center with the arms at the sides. Take the shoulders up towards the ears, so kind of shrug them. And then just let them drop. And we're going to do that a few times. So you may have to move your hands so they don't hit the ground. I'm not sure. Keep the wrists kind of bent and soft, but shrug. So use that as activity within the inhale, and then use that exhale, drop. Let's do it a few more times. Let's do one more. Good, and then interlacing fingertips behind the back. Squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other and keep the elbows straight, and then keep the shoulders down with the head up if you can. Good. And then just hold into this space. Take the chin in slightly towards the neck. Keep up tall through the spine. And work into the Ujjayi practice. So there's a lot of distraction here. There's a lot of sensations, but work at kind of keeping the mind with that breath practice. Two more rounds with the breath. And then slowly releasing, hands coming forward, dropping, navel towards spine, chin to chest. Good, and then the release from this will be coming all the way down onto our bellies. And taking the arms out straight and keeping the legs straight. And just let the head rest with one cheek or one ear to one side of the mat. So turning the head. And keeping those arms out straight. Just take a few like fuller, deeper breaths. So you can move away from that guttural nature of the Ujjayi practice and just let some breath, kind of permeate and just fill. More kind of like floaty or balloon-like. Good, and then in the next inhale, we're gonna keep the feet on the ground, but the head is gonna come forward, and we're gonna inhale and rise with the arms up in front of us. So if we're coming into locust, we're gonna keep the arms out in front of us. And then exhale, lower that down. Work with this movement. Work with the feet pressing into the mat so they don't rise, they're staying down. Exhale, release. So work with the back of the body as leverage, like the legs as leverage into rising up with the front of the body. Exhale, lower. So work with the physical sensations, like the leverage of kind of physics, and then work with the pathway of the breathing in kind of conditioning into this movement. And return to the Ujjayi practice in conditioning into this movement. Let's do two more. One more. Good, then let the hands rest down, and then this time take the head off to the other side. So the other cheek, the other ear, turn the other direction. Move away from the Ujjayi practice and come into more like a fluffier, ballooning kind of sensation of the body, just filling and releasing. Good, then sliding the hands so they're underneath the shoulders or down by the upper ribs. So the palms of the hands are on the mat. And then we'll use the pathway of the inhale to rise, cobra. Exhale, body lowers. Inhale, the pathway is rolling the shoulders onto the back. Feel like you want to squeeze them together as you rise. Exhale, lower. Keep going. So get the mind to really kind of yoke into the breath with the movement. Let's take 2 more. One more. Releasing down and then coming back into a wide-legged child's pose. And in your wide-legged child pose, keep the arms out straight in front of you. And come back into that kind of softer, balloony-like breath. So we kind of begin to condition the breath for certain pieces of the practice. This is a bit more kind of respite here. And that softer, fuller breath is kind of filling the needs and wants of that respite or of that relaxation or settling. And then our more direct work within the practice and movement comes back into the Ujjayi pranayama and that very much more intense kind of focus. Good, walk the hands off over towards the right hand side. Take left hand on top of right. Keep that softer kind of ballooning, filling, kind of nurturing. And then walk those hands off over towards the left hand side. Right hand on top of left. Walk the hands back to center. Take a deep, full inhale and use the exhale to uncurl and come seated on the heels. Draw the knees together. And feel that you kind of sit back a little bit on the heels and tuck the pelvis slightly, but keep the spine really tall and the shoulder blades drawing back towards one another. Chin comes back in slightly towards neck. Work back into the more disciplined approach of the Ujjayi practice. More guttural response. There's a little bit of restriction within that space above the belly button. So it's a bandha in yoga. It's more directly related to our diaphragm within our physical vessel. You know, the breath in our Ujjayi practice doesn't necessarily extend down into the lower abdomen. Work more internal drishti into that guttural sensation in the back of the throat and how you can kind of yoke into that experience. Within the next inhale, length up through the spine, even if it's just a thought. Exhale, take your right elbow down towards that left knee. Straighten the arm, and then walk that right arm either behind you, or if you want to take it and wrap it around so that left hand meets the back of your right pelvis. Twist a little bit into this. Think about that torso, that waistline, and then moving up into the upper back and the shoulders. Drop the chin into the chest. Hold for 3 Ujjayi breaths. When you meet that 4th breath, use the inhale to take the body center with the arms out in front of you. Exhale, make a round into a cat-like shape here. Keep the hands on the ground, reaching out, but just draw the navel back towards the spine, chin into chest. Find one of your inhales and use that for the body to rise. Spine comes up tall, exhale out the mouth. Inhale, again, length within the spine. Exhale, left elbow to right knee. Work that right arm behind you, or take the right hand to the back of the left pelvis. Drop the chin into the chest and work into that rotational aspect here, twisting, even taking that elbow into the knee to encourage that. Hold for 3 Ujjayi breaths. And then within the 4th breath, use its pathway to release. Arms come out in front of you, rounding through into cat. Use the next inhale to come all the way up on your knees. Yeah. Good, and then exhale, take it out the mouth. Good. Inhale, arms come up overhead. And then exhale, drop off over towards the right hand side. So reach the right arm down. Same thing, take like the physics of the lengthening of the left arm up and over, and like some sort of kind of pressing down of that side. So make 2 opposing forces. Hold. Inhale, this arm comes out. And then exhale into the opposite side. Right arm reaches up. And again, go internal into the physical vessel and think about the length coming up and over, and like that drawing down action of the right lower side. This time the inhale, come up, both arms. Exhale, work them behind the back. Interlace the fingertips. Squeeze those shoulders and see how high you can kind of get them away. Without losing the integrity of the spine, the neck, the head, the chin, just try to work into making more space, but not losing the shape of the body, or what we're using with the spine and the head and neck in our practice. Two more breaths here. Good, and then after that, releasing from here, hands come down and press back into a down dog. And use the shape of the down dog with that fuller, longer, more belly-like breath, just as a means of kind of rest. Even though this isn't fully restful in nature, take that kind of theory into the breathing and the mind and utilize that, even the breath and that theory within the physical body. Good, one more round. And then work your way back into the Ujjayi practice as the right foot steps forward and the left foot stays back into your lunge. Good, and then come up to high crescent lunge. Take the arms up overhead and see how deep you can drop down. Yeah. But don't lose the integrity of like the rest of the structure of the spine, the head. See how much weight and how much load you can give to those legs. How much of it, like the body surface of the upper body, that weight, how much can the legs hold? And then use your inhale, take a little bit more length through the spine. And then within the exhale, take your left elbow down to the right knee. Yep, so cross it over. Straightening the arm, or you can keep it like that left arm can straight or bend, but then take that right arm to meet the back of the left hip and twist into this. Yep, so use that same kind of twisting sensation through the torso, then the upper back, then the shoulders, and only go as far before you kind of like lose it. Just stay into the process, working from the waist up to the top of the head. Hold for one more breath. And then releasing from that, hands come back down to frame the front foot. Step your right foot back to meet your left. We're in a high plank. We're gonna hold for 3 Ujjayi breaths and then drop down into child's pose. So let's do 2 more. Inhaling. Exhale. 1 more. Inhale. Exhale. Wide-legged child's pose. Move away from the Ujjayi practice and come into a more fuller sensation of rest within the breath. And oftentimes that's releasing of any restriction and really utilizing the full capacity of the lungs just to kind of come in and out, the full movement like of the diaphragm. And then keep that fuller breath. Walk the hands off over towards the right hand side. Left hand on top of right. And again, stay creating that sensation or theory or practice of how we're utilizing a fuller breath. We're using it as a means of letting the body kind of return to its natural state or kind of heal in that space. Or just find some freedom from kind of exertion. Good, then walk those hands off to the left. Right hand on top of left. And just whatever a fuller breath means. Sometimes it kind of navigates into a different space as we've been in this like longer in a restful state. Good, then coming back through center. One last full breath before we kind of rally back into our practice, and we'll transition to downward dog. And in that transition, begin the Ujjayi practice. Keep going with the Ujjayi practice. Work the mind staying into that discipline. And take the left leg forward, right foot back, lunge, and then coming up, high lunge with arms up overhead. With the arms up, drop the weight of the body. Like, see how much load you can put on these legs. Keep the spine, keep the shoulders, keep the head and the neck. Use the inhale, lengthening with the spine, and then exhale, right elbow to outer left knee. That arm can stay bent or straightened, but use that leverage then to kind of twist from the torso into the upper body. Left hand can meet the back of the right pelvis and hold. One more breath. Then use the inhale, not to move the lower legs, but to move that torso back. Hands come down to frame the front foot. Right foot is going to step to meet left foot. Forward fold. And really hang into this forward fold. You may, notice like the tightness through the back of the legs. You haven't done a lot of work with the legs. So really let the weight of the upper body, like in pure physics here, working into the lengthening of the back of the legs. And just keep the mind with the breath. Good, the next inhale, half forward fold. Exhale, forward fold. Do that slowly a few more times. Use the pathway of the breath within the movement. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. One more, inhale. Lengthening the spine. Exhale, forward fold. Step the right foot back. And then keep that left knee bent, but just transition off to the side of the mat with the left knee bent. Okay, now we're gonna work into some like side lunging. So you'll bend into one knee and then you'll bend into the other knee. And when you do, let the toes come up off the mat with that leg that's straight. So you're working just into the heel of that straight leg. And just notice how that kind of shifts the dynamics of the side lunging. It should work into the back of the leg more, pointing the toes even up towards the ceiling of that straight leg. And see how low you can go, like bending, the knee. The bent knee will guide, how low you're going. And then the toes pointing up towards the ceiling are guiding what the kind of physical vessel is experiencing in that straight leg. And we're working it more into the back of the leg. And then keep this movement with the breath. So see if you can work in an Ujjayi inhale to one side and Ujjayi exhale to another. Notice even that pauses or slows down. Or creates kind of a little bit of a rhythm. And when the left knee bends, I want you to pause there. So whenever you get to that side where the left knee is bent, I want you to pause. Take those right toes up towards the ceiling, beyond the heel. Yeah. Keep the hands underneath the shoulders and see if you can then from there walk the fingertips out and tent up on the fingers a little bit. Keep the right toe pointing up if you can and see if you can round through just a few movements of cow and cat. It may be subtle because we're trying to create some stability here. Good, and then release from that, walk the hands over so you bend into the right knee, left toes come straight up. Same thing, first put hands under shoulders and then just walk them forward into some movements of cow and cat. Good, return to bending into the left knee, but point the toes towards the front edge of the mat and work your back foot. So it's setting up for like a warrior two. So there's an angle to the back toes. Good. And then see if you can rise. Back foot is on the ground. Yep, so left knee is bent forward, back foot is on the ground and angled. And then see if you can rise up straight. Drop the left elbow down onto the left knee and take that right arm up and over. So this is extended side angle. And hold. Utthita Parasvakonasana. Keep the reaching down of that back right leg and the extension up and over of the right arm. So internally, you're working the body into two directions. Gaze can look wherever it's comfortable in the head and neck. Stay with the Ujjayi practice here. One more breath in. And on the breath out, release the hands down, walk them back to center, and then switch that. So bend now into the right knee. Right toes point towards the short edge of the mat, and then that back heel transitions, just like in warrior two. So there's a slight angle. Use that to then rise up. Right elbow drops down to right knee, and left arm comes up and over. Stay with the breath practice. One more inhale in. Exhale, release that. And then just walk the hands all the way forward. So you're back to the front of your mat with your left foot forward and your right foot back. Good, and then step the left foot to meet the right foot, high plank, and then drop down into a wide-legged child's pose and just let the body rest. And back into that more restful act of breathing. Keep that breath as you transition with the arms off over towards the right hand side. Left hand on top of right. Good. Keep that going. Left hands off to right, to left hand side now, or hands off the left. But keep that breath kind of navigating into a fuller, more restful state, less intrusive. Use that inhale to walk the hands straight. Exhale, uncurl so you're seated on your heels. And then just kind of position yourself to come back into a seat of meditation. And let your Ujjayi breath practice be a practice in the seat of meditation. And let it guide and shift any changes within the physical body. And let it be the guide for the mind body. Take a few more rounds with the breath. Just noticing the quality within the seat of meditation. And kind of take that quality with you as you shift off to one hip and take both legs out in front of you and just grab your strap. Take the strap to the balls, both feet. And then working your way with your hands, walking down the strap, and feel as you kind of walk and inch that it's pulling the back. Like notice it where it hits first, in the lower back. Maybe it's through the shoulders, but there's going to be a lot of lower back, usually sensations. Walk yourself into that. Like literally feel like you're walking into that. And then when you walk into it, let the head hang, let the jaw hang, maybe noticing the sensations that crept in through the back of the legs. Let the eyes be soft, the jaw, the forehead. Even maybe finding your way into the back of the skull. And work into that softer, more restful breath. So even as there are sensations firing, we take like the theory, the process, the concept, and its physical nature into working with our system by utilizing the pathway of our breathing as a means of practice. Good. And before you rise from this space, take the right foot out of the strap and just have it be in the left foot. And then use the hands kind of crawling back, like walk yourself back up. And then bend the right leg and place it behind you. And then same thing, crawl your way down and crawl your way into the sensations and kind of meet them. And as you meet them, meet your breath practice as well. And let the breath practice, work its way into creating a more restful theory. And then we practice into it. And the body may not stop firing, but we may find an ability to kind of like use that concept with our bodies and with our minds and with the ability to kind of be more sustainable or efficient, or even just in like the path of exploring. Good, and then use the next inhale to crawl back up. You can shift the right leg forward, hook it up underneath the strap. Left leg comes out, and then that leg is going to come back. And then the same thing, begin kind of crawling or walking our way into this side and this experience and this shape. in these sensations. Good, and then crawling your way through here and just coming down onto your back into Shavasana. And just like utilizing that as your space of rest and maybe not doing anything in that space of rest. Just letting the body be. And just letting the remnants of the practice kind of settle without conscious thought or control. And enjoy your day. It's always a pleasure to see you. Namaste.